Welcome to The Explainer. Now look, usually we do an agenda here, but honestly, I'm just way too excited today. We're skipping it. We are jumping straight into a countdown of the greatest tracks by an absolute legend of rock and pop. I mean, we're talking about the unparalleled, the incredible Christine McVie.
But first, I really want to pose a question directly to you as we get started. Who was the true heart of Fleetwood Mac? Seriously, think about it for a second. Because, while other members of the band were constantly grabbing the headlines with their larger-than-life personas, the wild outfits, the crazy offstage antics, there was one specific member who served as the band's rock-solid, foundational musical anchor through it all.
Okay, let's dive into this, because there's this really stark contrast that totally defined the band's dynamic. On one side, you have the mystical chaos, right? Stevie Nicks and Lindsey Buckingham bringing this incredibly wild, unpredictable energy. I mean, they were famous for these explosive, vicious screaming matches that would literally only stop the exact second the red recording light turned on. But then, on the flip side, you have the grounded genius. Christine McVie provided the stabilizing brilliance. Her steady, blues-rooted keyboard stylings and just absolute mastery of pristine pop songcraft, that's what anchored the entire group. She was the calm within the storm, and as you're going to see, the source of so many of their biggest hits.
Let's look at the Rumours era masterpieces and how they turned personal collapse into collective triumph.
The Sausalito recording sessions were frankly an absolute mess of personal lives. John and Christine McVie, they were ending an 8-year marriage and flat out refused to even speak to each other socially. Yet somehow the musical result of that was this beautiful blues-fueled pop. Then you have Stevie and Lindsey right in the middle of a vicious breakup, fighting constantly but together producing these sweeping, gorgeous vocal harmonies. And then there's Mick Fleetwood reeling from the discovery that his wife was having an affair with his best friend, somehow laying down these steadfast, driving rhythms. It was an incredibly toxic environment, but somehow this massive emotional crucible fueled a perfectionist obsession that created a total masterpiece.
And within that massive collaborative masterpiece, here's a vital fact you absolutely got to remember. Christine McVie held the most sole writer credits on the entire Rumours album. Seriously, despite all the drama and the collective effort to piece these fragmented songs together, Christine was the dominant, solitary writing force on the record. She was responsible for writing huge, enduring hits all on her own, from the super optimistic anthem Don't Stop, all the way to the much darker, brooding track Oh Daddy.
And sometimes, the sheer emotional cruelty of that era was just hidden right in plain sight. Get this, Christine wrote the upbeat anthem You Make Loving Fun about her affair with the band's lighting director, Curry Grant, but she told her ex-husband John that it was about her dog. No way, right? It's just wild. The song has this incredibly upbeat R&B-leaning sound driven by a Hohner clavinet, but she literally used this cover story just so John would play the bass line without putting up a fight. It's a perfect example of the totally bizarre dynamics that produced this music. Now what's really interesting here is the miraculous creation of her signature ballad Songbird. It wasn't labored over for months. Actually, scratch that, it wasn't labored over at all. She woke up in the middle of the night and the song was just there. Chords, lyrics, melody all completely formed in about 30 minutes. She played it in her bedroom but didn't have anything to record it on, so she literally had to stay awake all night just so she wouldn't forget it. To capture that lightning in a bottle, she left the smoky studio and recorded it completely alone overnight at Berklee's massive Zellerbach Auditorium on a 9-foot Steinway piano. They did it there to get that real room ambience, and it created the solitary moment of pure grace right in the middle of the madness. All right, moving on to the underrated 70s gems, where we are counting down her best deep cuts. So, I'm going to quickly fire off these honorable mentions from the top of the list because her catalog is really just that massive. Coming in at number 7, we've got the blues-fueled country pop confection Say You Love Me. Number 6 is Sugar Daddy, which shows off some absolutely phenomenal organ work. Number 5 is the beautiful Songbird we literally just talked about. And number 4 is Think About Me. That one's a spunky, blues-powered pop track where she actually showed off a slightly harder, more cutting edge, complete with Lindsey's punk attitude guitar right behind her. Which brings us to the top 3. Landing in the number 3 spot, we have Warm Ways from their 1975 self-titled album. I really want you to try and hear this sonic landscape in your head. Picture the heavily reverbed Fender Rhodes electric piano, the languid guitar licks, and Stevie and Lindsey's gentle background vocals just sort of floating like gauze under Christine's exquisite voice. It is a lush, swoony lullaby. Her breathy, warm contralto vocals radiate this incredible, mature heat, perfectly anchored by the gentle, rhythmic drumming and plush bass work. Honestly, it is an absolute masterpiece of atmosphere.
Okay, now we move to a surprisingly obscure number 2 spot on this definitive list. It's the title track from the 1974 album Heroes Are Hard to Find.
This track represents this bold, brassy, totally upbeat side of Christine that she honestly rarely showed later on. It's driven by her rollicking piano and this incredibly fun, preacher-style call-and-response delivery. But the real surprise here? That incredibly catchy horn section. It just adds so much color and verve to the whole thing. The crucial takeaway is that she was really stepping up her songwriting game, creating this daring work right before Lindsey Buckingham and Stevie Nicks even joined the band.
And that brings us to the ultimate number 1, a masterclass in sweeping pop perfection.
Let's move to and see how this builds across her creative evolution. You start back in 1971 with Future Games, which really highlights her blues-influenced beginnings. Then skip ahead to 1977, where Rumours brought total global pop domination. But look right in the middle there. 1974's Heroes Are Hard to Find. That era was a really unique sweet spot. It was a pre-superstardom creative peak for her songwriting, where she was carrying the load with Bob Welch and experimenting with much grander, more ambitious arrangements.
Which finally brings us to the absolute number 1 track on the list, Come a Little Bit Closer, which is also from that 1974 album, Heroes Are Hard to Find.
So let's break down the instrumentation that makes this song her absolute masterpiece. Usually, Christine was known for that laid-back, cool vibe. But not here. This song is grand, it's bombastic. It kicks off with this gorgeous, ascending piano introduction. Then, it just builds into these crashing drums and her unbelievably soaring alto vocals. Add a sweeping string part played on an arp string ensemble. Match it with an ascending pedal steel guitar from the legendary Sneaky Pete Kleino, and wow, it is a thrilling, cinematic arrangement that completely abandons her usual restraint. And right at the heart of all that grand instrumentation are her classic, yearning lyrics. She sings, "Come a little bit closer, 'cause I remember the time when you held me in your arms and you wanted to be mine." She takes what's essentially a standard pop trope, yearning for a lost love, and she just completely elevates it. When her voice soars to the clouds on those lines, playing over those crashing drums and sweeping strings, it's an arrangement that practically makes you swoon.
So, at the end of the day, Christine McVie was undeniably the grounded genius, and for sure, the true musical heart of Fleetwood Mac. We've explored the sheer chaos of the Rumours era, and we've counted down our sources' definitive top tracks. And I think it proves her unparalleled pop mastery and her almost magical ability to turn intense personal pain into pure musical perfection. But before we go, I want to leave you with a question to ponder. When you look at her massive, incredible legacy spanning decades, what is your absolute favorite Christine McVie song? Let that thought keep your curiosity alive. And do yourself a favor, go give her catalog a fresh listen today. Thanks for joining me on this explainer.